Hey people, this episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com, use the offer code CATS. That's CATS. That's C-A-T-S. CATS. On with the show.
Lock the gate!
Okay, let's do this. How are you, people? What? What was that? What? Okay, let's do this. How are you? What's up? What is my intro? Okay, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fuck sticks? What the fuckstables? What? That still doesn't feel right. What's happening to my brain? Hey, it's Marc. Yeah, it's me, Marc Maron. Oh my God. This is WTF. Welcome to the show. What's happening? What is happening? Am I having a stroke? Hey, okay, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? That's how it goes, right? Oh my God. What just happened? Whew. Take a breath, man. I shouldn't have gone on that jog. I'm Marc Maron. This is WTF. Welcome to the show. I hope I make it through this one. What is happening to my brain? On the show today, author Jon Ronson, a British Jewish fellow, which, as you know, if you listen to my show, fascinates me, the existence of Jews that speak with that accent. It always blows me away for some reason. He's the author of several things that you may know. The Men Who Stare at Goats is his book. Them, Adventures with Extremists, is another one of his books. The Psychopath Test, A Journey Through the Madness Industry, was the one that got me in there. He was here from Britain, from the UK. Now, I seized the opportunity. I'd been on his radio show, and I wanted him to be on mine, and we had a nice chat. That is coming at you momentarily. The psychopaths and sociopaths. Who hasn't been called a sociopath, huh? Well, if you haven't been called a sociopath by a woman, you haven't lived. If you haven't been called a sociopath by a lady you broke up with, you didn't do it right, I guess. Word gets bandied about a bit without necessarily being grounded in anything but anger and heartbreak, not necessarily clinical diagnosis. Huh? Am I being too vague? Hey, look, the past is the past. Hey, folks, when was the last time you've heard of a post office being open around the clock? I know the answer to that. Never. That's why you need Stamps.com. Get posted when it's convenient for you, 24/7, right from your desk. Stamps.com will save you the time and hassle of going to the post office. No more driving, finding parking. Just use your own computer and printer to get official U.S. postage for any letter or package, and the mailman picks it up at your house. You'll save money with Stamps.com as well. Get exact postage the instant you need it. No more overpaying. Even get special postage discounts you can't get at the P.O. That stands for post office. And I'll tell you why I like it. I get to use a digital scale that Stamps.com gave me, and also they don't let me play with the toys at the post office, so I get to be a post guy. Right now, use my promo code WTF for this special offer. Start a no-risk trial with a $110 bonus offer, including that digital scale, and up to $55 of free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. What's going on with me, you ask? Is that of interest to you? I bought a bicycle. I bought a bicycle impulsively. I bought a bicycle because I had to. I bought a bicycle to make my lady happy. It's already starting. Things are being accumulated to make the lady happy. Yeah, that's happening. She had mentioned maybe a week or so ago how fun it would be to maybe ride bikes around where she lives. Down a bike path. She had mentioned the bike riding. We went to look at bikes. I said, I'm going to get a bike. I connected with this black cruiser, 7-speed, no frills. Nice big, the handlebars weren't like, look, I'm doing something athletic. The handlebars were more like, hey, I'm riding a bike. It had the, hey, I'm riding a bike handlebars, not the, man, I'm pushing it handlebars. And I'm like, that looks cool. Big old black bike with a cool green stripe on it. I might get that bike. So I bought a bike. And we went bike riding, and it was pleasant and nice. And then we got back to her house, a little sweaty, and that's when the chaos began. I'm trying to, get to know her 9-year-old daughter, and that's going well because I decided that I'm just going to lay back and be myself. That was my plan. Just going to be myself and let it come around. Just be myself. And we were at dinner the other night with another mommy and a kid, her daughter's friend. And I had scrambled over to dinner after trying to get some stuff done. I just gotten out of the shower and my hair was wet, and I went into dinner, and Matilda, Moon's daughter, looked at my hair and she goes, "What's going on with your hair?" And I go, it's before I could even say anything, she said, I think you're trying too hard." What? And I said, "It's wet." And she goes, "Yeah, I think you're still trying too hard." I said, there's no gel in it. Feel it. It's just wet. She felt it. She goes, "Yeah, it's wet." So I'm not trying too hard. It's just wet hair. There's no gel. There's no product. There's no product in the hair. This is a conversation I'm having with a 9-year-old. She goes, "Yeah, okay." I said, "Look, I just took a shower because I know you're sensitive to smells and I didn't want to stink when I came to dinner." And then she goes, "Yeah, see, you're trying too hard." Boom. Set up, punch. So after the bike ride, we get back to the house, and that's when a bit of chaos breaks loose. A little bit of chaos. Turns out the babysitter or the daughter's friend or the daughter's friend's mom who was hanging out, somebody had fucked with the remote out in the back where the TV is. And this is where I learned that nobody fucks with Moon's remote. So that was rough for a few minutes. There was where it's hooked up to a home entertainment system. I don't understand the remote. Something's been fucked up in any number of several machines. It was chaos, emotional chaos. She was trying to fix it. I didn't know the remote, but with a little time, I could probably figure out the remote, maybe. But that wasn't an option. I couldn't even suggest anything without some emotional shrapnel coming my way. And then she says, "Well, my ex-husband set up this remote." And I go, "Well, maybe we should not think the entire world is ending and that you no longer have your electronic babysitter or your relief mechanism to enjoy movies and stuff. Let's not let the world crumble. It's not the end of Fight Club here. It's a remote control problem. Why don't you call your ex-husband, see if he can tell you on the phone what the fuck is going on with the remote?" Here's the funny thing is that she really didn't know how to fix the remote, but she was pretty sure that nobody else did. I understand that sentiment. So she left. I didn't know what she was doing, so I hit a couple buttons. I didn't see any change in the remote, but I didn't know how to work that remote anyways. I didn't know what the hell the system was. And then I took a breath. I was trying to be the grounded, calm one in this situation, so everything wouldn't fall apart. And I walked in, and I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "Well, Paul's coming over." So the ex-husband's now coming over to examine the remote situation. So then Paul comes over, who I've met a few times. We get along. He left the dinner table. This is a pretty decent ex-husband and father, if you ask me. He came over to check the remote out at his ex-wife's home. He goes out back with her, and they come in, and he says, "There was nothing wrong with it." And Moon says, "You fixed it, Mark." And I'm like, "Well, it's weird. I didn't know I fixed anything. I'd like to take credit for it, but I was not aware of it. I just pushed a couple of things on there, and I'm glad I fixed it." I did feel good about that, but I couldn't feel the full victory because I didn't know I fixed it. I was just out there pushing buttons. And let me ask you something, folks. How often do you push buttons and get good results? Huh? How often? Exactly. So, look, I think right now, I feel the presence of a drop-in guest. Is that possible? I feel the presence of a drop-in guest just by coincidence. The star of Review, it's a new show on Comedy Central that you can watch at comedycentral.com, Andy Daly.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
It's been a while since I've seen you.
I know. That's true. I've been hiding from you.
You've been hiding from me.
Yeah, kind of.
I heard someone yelling my name in front of my house, and Andy Daly was in the neighborhood. Let's play it like that.
Okay, that's good.
Spontaneous.
Yes.
I wonder what Mark's doing.
I'm wandering around trying to. Well, I printed up flyers about my new show on Comedy Central, and I'm just going door to door, putting them on windshields and in mailboxes and stuff like that.
Well, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Take that fucking thing off my car. All right.
No,
it's my property. It's private property. You don't come up and put flyers on people's private property.
Well, but I think you're going to thank me once you read it and you tune into the show. You'll feel like I'm glad that was on my car.
This is starting to feel like you had an agenda. When you
What do you mean?
When you're just walking around my neighborhood handing out flyers, you come in, you think, well, maybe we'll sit down with Marc.
I made it seem kind of casual.
It started off casual. You started in with the agenda very quickly.
I'm aware that you have a show here and that there are microphones. And it took me an hour to massage my way back here into the garage.
Well, you got a podcast now too, right?
That's true.
We might as well just do an Andy Daly plug fest.
I think that would be a great idea.
Since you're in the neighborhood.
Can we redo my WTF? I don't think I came off well in that. Let's just do a whole hour.
Want to just do it quickly?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sum it up.
Look, I'm great. There's no reason to be self-deprecating. I was overly self-deprecating the last time I was here. I'm great. I've always been great. Everything is going great. People should take a look at me.
Okay.
That's all I wish I'd said.
Well, how do you like that? We don't even need to do another hour. I think we covered it.
Okay, good.
So we got that out of the way.
Wonderful.
That will be considered your second WTF.
This supersedes that first WTF where I made a very compelling case against myself for an hour.
I think there was some honesty there, and perhaps you feel better today. Yeah. Perhaps things are going better for you now, but let's look at that as a portrait of Andy Daly in a self-doubting, more self-deprecating mode.
Okay, fine.
I think you felt pressure to have something wrong with you.
I have some problems.
Like, I feel okay, but that's not what Maron wants.
Right. I got to dig into the past to find some things that I've done wrong.
Poking around.
Yeah, right.
Well, look, I'm thrilled that things are going well for you because I'm a fan of yours.
Thank you.
I enjoy your work on Eastbound and Down and the other things, everything else you show up in, and where everyone goes like, "Hey, there's Andy." That was just Andy Daly.
Yeah.
Like you're one of the great character actors of the character of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you find that you're the guy that they go to for an Andy Daly type of guy?
I get a lot of Andy Daly types. Yeah. I get a lot of friendly doctors and friendly principals, friendly professionals.
But capable of going over the top if necessary.
Yep.
With some strange controlling anger.
Right, exactly. Very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Very angry guys bubbling up under the surface.
So what's this podcast? What have you thrown your hat in the ring with?
Yeah, well, I did this thing, I do characters on Comedy Bang Bang, and the thought was to give each character I've ever done on the Comedy Bang Bang podcast his own podcast. And so each guy has one episode of his own podcast. It's called the Andy Daly Podcast Pilot Project. And it's great.
That's an earwolf.
And I'm great.
That's
and
an earwolf. That's an earwolf.
That's an earwolf thing. But look, I'm only doing 8 of them. That's what makes it special.
Oh.
I'm doing 8 of them, and then I'm walking away.
For the ages.
Forever.
8 for the ages.
8 for the ages.
No reason to chase that dragon.
That's right.
You just say, I got a plan.
Yeah.
Succinct number of episodes. There'll be cult classics.
Right.
People will find them when they find them. No pressure on me. I got other things to do.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
God damn, I'm having my own interview with you. So what is this television business?
Well, that's more important because it's more profitable. The television show is on Comedy Central. It's called Review. It premieres March 6th.
Review with Andy Daly?
No. Just Review. I am in it.
Andy Daly's Review.
Incorrect. That's not the title. It is. I am in it. It is Andy Daly.
Andy's reviewing shit.
That's not the title. The title is just Review. But
Andy Daly.
All of the other things you're saying about it are true. It is with me, but that's not.
I'd like to add that. I think you should call them.
You can listen. There's going to be I'm going to have the billboard over there on over Pink Dot. You can get up there with some spray paint.
You get that? You're going to get that billboard?
They're going to give me that billboard.
Your big fucking mug.
Yeah.
Your mug's going to be on above Pink Dot where I met Axl Rose.
Is that where you met Axl Rose?
If I didn't meet him, I high-fived him.
Was he delivering for Pink Dot at that time?
I don't know what he was doing. I just I knew it was him, and I went Axl, and I high-fived him right under where you're going to face is going to be.
Beautiful.
I know.
I'm also going to be in Times Square on a billboard, but it's a video billboard, so it's probably me and 100 other people cycling.
Not gotten billboards. I've never had a billboard.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know what IFC's doing, but I've never had one. I would have liked one billboard. IFC's Maron on Sunset. That would have been a big thing for me, but I didn't get that. So
I would be cool sharing my billboard with you.
Can I just put something up there maybe at night?
Please do.
Just maybe a little poster, Maron on IFC.
I would like that very much.
On your face. Tell me about this show Review, Andy.
Well, it's an adaptation of an Australian series.
Holy shit, you just ripped off an Australian series.
See, no, they're happy about it. These guys are delighted.
No, this is many great American shows have been taken from the format of a foreign model.
Listen, it has an international pedigree, Mark. It's a selling point.
No problem with it.
Good. So they ran it for 2 years over there, and it's about a guy who reviews life experiences rather than reviewing books, movies, or food. People will say, what's it like to have road rage? What's it like to be a racist? What's it like to be addicted to drugs?
You're going to be talking to people.
No, I go out and do it. This character that I play, named Forrest McNeil, receives this and believes himself to be doing something important for the good of humanity and to be capable of unique insights into all facets of life. And so he goes out into the world and he experiences these things and rates every experience on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. And in the process, all sorts of things get ruined. His wife, his job.
So this is a scripted thing.
That's correct.
Oh, see, that's why that's not Review with Andy Daly or Andy Daly's Review. I had no idea there was a high concept in that it was scripted, and you're not playing Andy Daly, you're playing character.
I'd say it's the highest possible concept.
Yeah.
It used to be called Review with Forrest McNeil, but somebody pointed out that that's a fictitious name that doesn't mean anything to anybody and won't encourage anyone to tune in.
You're hoping that eventually it will mean something to people.
Right, maybe in season 2.
That guy, Forrest McNeil's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Andy Daly's doing a good job playing him in that show Review.
Because he's great. And take a look at him.
And he feels good about everything.
He's feeling great. Nothing's wrong.
Nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
How is everything?
Got a lot of problems.
Did you shoot them all already?
We shot them all. We shot 9 of them.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah.
How'd they go?
They went great. They really went incredibly. We had Andy Blitz and Leo Allen and Kevin Dorff writing for it, and Jeffrey Blitz, who directed that.
One of those guys lives in my old apartment.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You guess which one?
Andy Blitz.
Nope.
Leo Allen.
Yes.
Good. Mm-hmm. Second try. Carol Kolb of The Onion also wrote on it. Jeff Blitz directed that documentary Spellbound about
Andy's
spelling
brother.
bees. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And also
like
directs a bunch of The Office. Yeah. So this is a very mockumentary style, and he's amazing at that.
So, and was there improvisational elements?
There was a lot of improvisational elements. As a matter of fact, we were originally supposed to only shoot 8, but we did so much improvising on the set that at some point we were like, oh, we have 9 episodes. So there's 9.
How does Comedy Central feel about this project that you've done for them?
They feel it. They seem excited about it. You know, it was originally supposed to premiere last summer, and they pushed it because they felt like they wanted to get behind it a little bit more with billboards and stuff like that, and they didn't have the promotional budget at that time. So they were like, let's push it till a time when we can really
afford a billboard.
Yes, pretty much. Which is absurd.
Not really. That's what it's all about.
That's
with
how
them.
It is.
You only get a certain amount of money per quarter.
That's right.
For promotion.
That's exactly what happened.
Right, and they're like, we're a little short.
Yes.
We'd like to give you more than the flyers that you're handing out in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. They literally could not afford a billboard in 2013. That is why we had to sit around for 8 months.
So when do you want to do the call for the splitting the billboard? Should we call somebody over there?
It's going to be awkward because you're on a different network. Let's just say it right off. It's not going to be an easy sell to Comedy Central, but
Should we go the gorilla way?
I think we go the gorilla way.
Should I have Shepard Fairey put my picture up there?
He would be happy to do it.
Yeah. Black and white.
You might come off looking a little heavier than you are.
Right. And it just says Maron underneath.
Yeah.
And then obey. Yeah. Obey Maron.
But not hope.
No. No, there's no reason.
There's no hope.
Reason to push that. I'm not that guy. I'm the, maybe it'll work out.
Maybe it'll work out.
That's too much.
If I try hard, but not too hard.
So what are you doing now? You just going to go on flyering or?
Yeah.
I'm staying with that conceit.
Yeah, I have a lot. I have 10 more flyers. Mm-hmm. I have to figure out strategically where to put them.
Mm-hmm. York's kind of popping right now. There's a lot of things down there.
What's your opinion of Donut Friend? Be honest.
But honestly, I'm going to judge a donut without shitting it.
Okay, yeah.
And so let's just take the donuts as they are. They're a little dense.
Fascinating. I'm glad. I knew you'd have a true answer to that question.
Because
I feel the same way. I don't need all the fancy toppings.
Right.
The donut itself, though, it's better than I'm getting at any of the other donut areas in the neighborhood.
True.
So I go in there, I ask for a plain chocolate donut with some glaze on there, and I'm quite happy. But I don't need any of the bells and whistles.
Well, I mean, it's a nice option, but it's like you're still going to judge a donut. So you like the donut?
I do.
The not too cakey.
I've had better donuts.
Okay.
But I have not had a better donut within a 10-mile radius of Donut Friend.
I support his business.
Yes.
I am glad he's here, and people seem to be enjoying it.
Yes.
But I had an old-fashioned, which is frankly my favorite kind of donut. Also called a buttermilk donut.
Okay.
And that was good too.
Mm-hmm.
I think my experience on basing the cakey is just on the basic donut. You know the what would you call them?
I just want to point out we have now talked about Donut Friend for far longer than we talked about Review, and that's a real problem.
Review with Andy Daly, your show.
Yeah. I'm just afraid somebody at Comedy Central is going to say, did you go down to Maron's garage to promote the donut shop around the corner or to promote the TV show?
Let me be honest with you.
All right.
This is between you and I. They're not paying me extra for this, I don't think. I said
Comedy Central is not?
No, I think I said Andy Daly, I would like to help him with his show.
Thank you.
I already do a deal with Comedy Central. We'll be plugging it anyways. This was a friendship thing.
I want you to. And I appreciate it. So what you're saying is it's my job to keep us on topic.
No, I want to talk about donuts now. We talked about your thing.
Okay, all right.
No, it's over now. Now it's over. It's uncomfortable. Do you want to go get a donut?
I do. Actually, I really do.
Review with Andy Daly playing who?
Huh? Forrest McNeil is the name of my character.
Review starring Andy Daly playing Forrest McNeil.
Yes.
Is a guy who goes out and does things where he reviews things in life.
Yes.
From 1 to 5.
That's right.
Give me some examples of what he reviews.
In the first episode, he reviews stealing. He just, what's it like to go steal some things? And he gets into it. Mm-hmm. He discovers that he has a facility for it. He reviews addiction. He goes ahead and gets addicted to cocaine just to review it on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. And then he reviews going to the high school prom.
All in one episode.
All in one episode.
That's loaded. That's jam-packed.
It is.
It took me years to get addicted to cocaine. You did it in less than 20 minutes.
Did it really take years? No, you were probably hooked from the first time you tried it.
I think I enjoyed it, but I didn't really commit to it till later.
Okay.
Yeah, the first time I was like, this is something I might want to ruin my life with, but I'll wait till I'm in college.
Right.
Yeah.
When it really counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like a great show.
Thank you.
And Donut King has pretty good donuts.
Yeah.
That's what we learned. And you're great. Everything's great with you.
I think the billboard is going to be me, you, and Donut Friend.
No, it's going to be you with a poster, a Shepherd Ferry poster of me on your face.
Yes.
Eating a Donut Friend donut.
I think that's perfect, and I think it'll sell all three of us beautifully.
Yeah, look for that on Sunset Boulevard above the pink dot where I met Axl Rose.
And he might still be there.
Nice to see you, Andy.
Thank you so much.
Wasn't that pleasant? Andy Daly, who is very funny, and you can watch a full episode of Review right now on ComedyCentral.com. Boy, this has been some show already. A lot of things going on. Pushing buttons. Did you hear that part earlier? We're sponsored by Squarespace, folks, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. If you want to start a free trial and get 10% off, I've got a way for you to do it. Squarespace is easy. Everything is drag and drop. You can add content from your desktop and even rearrange elements of content within a page just by dragging them around. Take my word for it, people. It's easy. But if you want some help, Squarespace takes care of that, too. They have an amazing support team that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Squarespace recently added e-commerce to their platform. This means that literally every Squarespace customer can now begin selling products online. Start a trial with no credit card required and get building your website, folks. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code CATS to get 10% off. And show your support for WTF. That's squarespace.com and use the offer code CATS, C-A-T-S, Squarespace. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. Okay, so let's talk to Jon Ronson about psychopaths and sociopaths and his journey through that, and also just other stuff. I like talking to people from the UK. Feels exotic to me. I always assume from the accent that they're much more educated and sophisticated than I am. That's a secret between us. All right, let's talk to Jon Ronson. Get right up on it.
Okay, that's good.
What do you do at the BBC? Don't they have these kind of microphones? This is what you do there?
I guess so.
Right? Can you hear yourself all right?
Yeah, although I'm not really doing anything at the BBC anymore.
I talked to you on a radio show.
Yeah. But then they kind of decommissioned that show about a year ago.
What was that show?
It was called Jon Ronson On. What happened was I was doing stuff for This American Life.
Yeah.
And they said to me, well, I thought I'd sort of offer This American Life, without telling This American Life I was doing this, that I'd offer it to the BBC. It was such a great show, it should be on the BBC.
Yeah. And
so I went there and said to them, can I, you should take the show, This American Life, it's fantastic. And they said, no, it's too American. Why don't you do a show? And I thought, well, I've got all these This American Lives that they rejected because the kind of the gate to their garden of acceptance is very high indeed.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I know. Jesus, I had like 30 stories that I pitched to This American Life. They didn't want to. So as soon as
30?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I gave up after like 2. It was fortunate for me, that Ira took a liking to my show, but I've never been on there in a story way.
Yeah, I still do. I mean, I still do stuff for them. I did something for them just like the other week.
So you're in now?
I am kind of in, I think.
Good.
I think I'm in. But there were some stories that they rejected, and so that's how I started doing my show on Radio 4.
And that it was an investigative sort of show, because I remember you talked to me about joke stealing.
Yeah, I talked to you about Carlos Mencia, which
specifically.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, it was kind of similar to this American Life. We would take a theme and we'd do stuff around the theme.
And why'd they let it go? Why'd they stop it?
Oh, I did like 30 of them, and we were old and tired by the end of it.
Isn't that nice, though? In some way, I think about the UK is that they know when something's done.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
because I think there's less money involved in some weird way.
Well, there was no fucking money involved in my series.
Because even here, like with TV, there's an argument to be made that some things should be stopped fairly quickly. And maybe they could be appreciated more if they didn't drive themselves in the ground, but the profit margin is what matters.
Yeah.
So you just have to deal with the redundancy of that kind of commercialism.
It's true. We did we did about 7 series of Jon Ronson, and that's unusually a lot. That's 30 episodes or something, and that's way more than most people get. No, I think you're right. I think we're good at finishing things while they're still good.
Is it sometimes some people I've talked to, like Edgar Wright, it's somewhat of a choice sometimes to just stop, and other times it's just sort of the BBC saying okay.
Yeah. Well, Edgar,
someone else's turn.
Yeah. Well, Edgar stopped spaced after 2 series?
Yeah.
Right? It's perfect.
Yeah, it's just enough.
Yeah.
It was done.
He was going to turn one of my books into a film.
Which one?
Them. My first.
What happened to that? I thought that's not happening anymore.
No, it was Mike White wrote a screenplay, and
you wrote it.
Yeah, Mike wrote it, and Edgar was attached to direct it.
So the screenplay would have been you moving through the world of those people.
No,
what were they? Conspiracy theorists and extremists of different kinds.
Yeah, in the screenplay, I think the conspiracy theories turned out to be true, and
that would be Edgar's touch to the.
Well, actually, that was Mike White's idea. One of the people in them is David Icke, who believes that the shadowy
lizard people.
Yeah, lizard people, and my book kind of broke the lizard story.
For the world?
Pretty much so. It was kind of small.
I don't know. People kind of knew it. You know who knew it? People believed it.
Yeah, people believed it. I had this thing. So basically, okay, so this guy said to me, Fenton Bailey, producer, said to me, you've got to do David Icke, and he believes, he's kind of nuts. He believes that 12-foot lizard, paedophile lizards secretly rule the world. And I said, that's just too nuts. There's nothing to kind of hold on to there.
Right.
But then I was in the offices of the Anti-Defamation League, and I picked up this Jewish newspaper, and it said, David Icke believes that 12-foot blood-drinking, child-sacrificing paedophile lizards secretly rule the world. He's evidently using code, and what he actually means is Jews. And I thought, that's great, because it's like...
But don't they usually just say Jews if they mean Jews?
Well, I said to David Icke, he said, no, I really mean lizards.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's, so I said that to the ADR, and they said, oh, that's code too. So you kind of can't win. But, yeah, so... But I loved that. I thought that was like a sort of pressure cooker of craziness on both sides. As David, as the extremists get crazier, so do our responses towards them. So Mike White wrote a screenplay.
Oh, Mike White, yeah.
Yeah, in which that came true, that the ruling elite really was 12-foot blood-drinking lizards.
Did you like the screenplay?
Yeah, I loved it. They'd rip off their faces, and they'd be like, lizard. I thought it was great. Just great in a kind of Mike White way.
Yeah.
And
well, that's a little outside of the box for him, isn't it? It's,
I guess so.
Like sci-fi. He's sort of a, toils of the human heart dude.
Yeah. I mean, this is quite a long time ago. This is like 2001, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I read that. I just finished the other book, the new one, the newest one.
The Psychopath
Test.
Right. What's really interesting? So
wait, are you writing on this? Are you writing on me?
No, you're not a psych. You're too.
No, but I'm just saying
to be a psychopath.
Right, but I'm just saying in general. Like, is this experience of you being here something you're going to be writing about?
How would you feel if I did?
Fine.
I would be all right about it. Well, maybe. I'm going to see.
I just didn't know if you were on assignment or
no.
We were going to go at it with each other to figure out what your experience of this is. How you experience this in your own words would be interesting.
Right. Well, I kind of think if it goes badly, if it goes well, there'll be nothing to write about, right?
You'll find something. There'll be a moment where you could, rip open and examine.
I was a bit worried about doing this because you're quite sort of intense presence.
Am I?
I think so, and so I was a little nervous about.
But you're pretty intense, aren't you?
Not in that way. Not in that way. Yeah. So basically, in the Psychopath Test, you've got these psychiatrists, sort of leading Harvard psychiatrists, who all say that that the ruling elite, they look human, but they're not quite human
because they lack human traits, psychological traits. Conscience, empathy.
Yeah, so they're psychopaths who pretend to be normal. They kind of hide their madness behind a veneer of normality, and all those people are kind of hailed as. And then David Icke says these people who rule the world, they look normal, but underneath they're not normal. They're different. It's exactly the same theory, right? But with David Icke, it's lizards, and with the Harvard psychologists, it's psychopaths.
So psychopaths.
Yeah, and that's really interesting.
But why? But what is it that you're gunning for? I mean, well, first of all, let's start here. You're in Malibu, but you're not living in Britain anymore. No,
I've been living in New York for about a year and a half.
Like on a visa, or are you in?
Yeah, no visa, but I'm gonna get a green card, I think.
So you're living in New York, and what part of New York?
In the Upper West Side. So
you landed in the Upper West Side.
Yeah. I do feel like I fell asleep in London and woke up the next morning and I was living in New York. I've got no kind of rational...
okay. Yeah. So, and how are you experiencing it?
It's all right.
What are you doing there? Just writing?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as I was doing in London, just with fewer friends. Yeah. I'm like a kind of, I feel like a kind of exiled monk. It means I'm writing a lot more.
But are you doing it mostly for British publication, or are you like...
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to write a new book, and I'm writing some
What's
films.
This book?
I'm writing a book about people who've been publicly shamed.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested in the fact that I think with each of my books, the people I'm sort of chronicling, I'm looking into, are getting closer and closer to us. So, like, in...
Me and you?
Like, yeah, and the people listening to this and the people on Twitter, I mean, the way that we all, gather together to routinely destroy people. I'm really interested in that. I think there's kind of mass...
But where does boundaries come into the conversation? I mean, how do we exist? My current struggle with the whole thing is that, there's issues of transparency and there's issues of accessibility, right? So what do we protect anymore? What is ours? And I mean, I guess also in some of your books, there's a facade of character, hiding something, but it becomes harder and harder to hide anything.
Yeah. And the problem then is what happens when we all start to get, defined by our worst aspects.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's happening on the internet more and more. I mean, it happens in the mental health world, and this is what the Psychopath Test is about, I think, is how we, how more and more people are being defined by the aspects of their personality that would be described as mental disorders.
As having a clinical explanation.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not whatever the norm is, which doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
So I think the point, like that I read in the Psychopath Test, was that we're all judged against this as mad as you can be. There's degrees of it, but it doesn't seem like culturally we like to hold on to any real gray area, that we can't accept.
Yeah.
That like everybody has elements of borderline, narcissism, psychopathology, all that stuff. We all have those things. And if you're a person that's seeking definition for yourself and want to frighten yourself, you can go categorize yourself. But I think that you're talking about control and people needing some sort of easy way to say like, well, you're that and I can do what I will with that information.
Yeah. And as journalists, what we do is we travel around the world with our notepads in our hands and we look and we wait for the gems.
Mm-hmm.
And the gems are always the most outermost aspects of that person's
compelling.
Well, it's like your Carlos Mencia. I mean, most of your shows that are most popular are the ones where people kind of fall apart.
Yeah, but I didn't expect that. I was not gunning for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're running around, pushing people's buttons on purpose.
No, I'm not. Fucking I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to demonize the demons. I'm trying to humanize people.
You're poking around in their soft spots.
What I'm trying to do is find a good balance between not humiliating people, but looking into these kind of darker, shadowy aspects of our personalities.
And I appreciate the approach of the, I guess what would be called the Gonzo approach of offering up enough of yourself as a point of reference to have the reader judge against your own struggle and your own journey into understanding this stuff.
Yeah, which is why actually I always thought I was the most appropriate person to write about psychopaths, because I'm like the opposite of I'm the kind of neurological opposite of a psychopath, and that my amygdala like massively overperforms, and I'm sort of constantly getting these kind of anxieties.
But what do you think about that whole business? Is that if you can psychopathologize everything to a chemical transaction, I mean, what are we really worth anyway?
Yeah, well, I remember saying to some psychopath spotters at a course that I went on, if it's
the Bob Hare thing?
Yeah, Robert Hare's thing. I said, okay, if it's all just neurological, if it's their underperforming amygdala, you should feel sorry for them, right? And he said, well, why should we feel sorry for them? They don't give a fuck about us. So, yeah.
Conditional empathy.
Yeah, you're right. But exactly, all the things that kind of keep us morally good, the empathy and, the guilt and the remorse, these are all kind of painful feelings, right? It's the amygdala kind of shooting these signals up and down. So psychopaths don't have that. So psychopathy has to be the most pleasant feeling of all the mental disorders, right? They walk around, and which is why so few of them want to be kind of cured, because it's a great feeling to have no remorse and no guilt. It's just they just walk around fine. Right.
But the fact is that once they become aware of it, that the manipulative element of it is that they can sort of act that stuff if necessary to get what they want. Well, it's the same with manics. I got manics in my life. I got bipolar people. They don't want to be medicated because they're just waiting for that next run.
Right.
The ecstatic feeling of that.
Yeah.
But what did you come away with all that after talking to all those people and going on this journey for yourself, and waffling in between judging yourself by the psychopath checklist and talking with real psychopaths? I mean, what was the feeling at the end in terms of your own ability to empathize or put them into context?
Well, I came away with the strong sense that we have this weird desire to judge people by their madnesses, by their maddest edges, and that is creating a more kind of conformist, conservative society. So psychopaths definitely exist. I'm no kind of R.D. Lang person. Psychopaths definitely exist. However, there's this kind of massive need in all these different aspects of society, from journalism through to the pharmaceutical industry, through to psychiatry and psychology, where all these different groups have vested interests to define people by their madnesses. And I think we do that. And the reason why I want to write this new book about public shaming is because I think we all do it routinely too. Somebody fucks up slightly on the internet and they become that thing for the rest of their lives.
Okay, that's interesting. But like with the pharmaceutical industry, the psychiatric industry, and with the media, they're predatory and desperate to exploit in order to increase their profit margin. But personally, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
That I think that we like to have the ability to sum people up so we know how to engage with them. That there's a tremendous risk. Like I think that what I do here, for us to sit down and have a free form conversation, is something that people I think used to enjoy doing, perhaps. Spin the yarn, get at some stuff, have a discussion, and take some emotional risks along the way. But I think now, because of the pace of culture and the pace of society, that seems to be a burden. So it's a lot easier to go like, well, that guy's fucked up. Or that guy's got that problem.
Yeah,
he's that. Without experiencing the nuance, because there's too much going on, in order to just even make a relationship with somebody, it's taxing because our brains have changed. We don't have that kind of time anymore.
Yeah, you're right. And this is why what you do, and in fact the rise of the whole podcast culture, is a really great thing, these long form conversations.
But what do we do? Like, tell me about this shaming thing. So because in my mind, what's happening, and I also think what is happening in media culture outside of psychiatric profiteering and pharmaceutical profiteering, is that there's juice there. It's titillating. That it's more satisfying. But it also implies a distance, like with the internet and with shaming, that you don't look at people as people.
Yeah.
And the titillation of like, oh, that person did that. That's fun. There's a rush.
Yeah, there is a rush. And so what are we getting from that? There's a woman actually I met in the Psychopath Test who was a talent booker for daytime.
I know, that was great. Yeah. I thought how she became cynical was interesting.
Yeah. She would ask them what medication they were on.
Right.
And that was her way of trying to work out who was the she was looking for the right sort of madness, because if it was like lithium, she said, that's whoa, and I could have them on our show. You don't want them to go on the show and then go off and kill themselves. But if it was a medication that implied a kind of fun-sounding mental illness like Prozac, she would have them on the show. And I guess the idea is that we're worried that we're getting crazy, and so we want to watch these people who are a bit crazier than we are, which will it'll entertain us and it'll make us feel better about ourselves for not being as out of control as we worried that we might be. But they're not so crazy that we feel like we're being exploitative by watching them. So it's the right sort of madness for entertainment, for television, is people who we feel are just a little bit crazier than we are.
I guess I sometimes feel like, if I watch Hoarders, or I watch Intervention, like
that you empathise more, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Hoarding's really interesting. It's a different thing. With Hoarding, we watch for a different reason. We watch because we are worried that that's what we are turning into.
Also, more so on that show, like, being a sober person myself, when I watch Intervention, the arc of someone's struggle and decision to try to change their life is satisfying.
Yeah.
I know the odds are against people, but, at least they find that window to try.
Yeah.
But with Hoarding, you never end one of those shows thinking like, things are going to be okay over there.
Yeah.
Never.
It's a funny thing, Hoarding, because I think that
look around me. Look, I'm close.
You're getting close.
But I want it gone. It's just, to me, it's a matter of laziness. I have some things there. Well, what's your take on it?
On Hoarding?
Yeah.
I think the TV producers have a different agenda to we have as viewers. I think the TV producers love it because it's just about the most visually startling of all the mental disorders.
You're just waiting for the bag of poop or the dead cat.
Yeah, they want the maggots. Yeah. They want the kind of mountain rain, the kind of mountains of tchotchkes. They kind of love that stuff. Whereas we watch it because we're worried.
Yeah.
We think that's us. So why then are we all suddenly... Because, Hoarding, it's like... in fact, it feels like the Mormon church of mental disorders, in that it's incredibly fast growing and nobody quite understands why. And my feeling is that it's not simple to say it's just like we're kind of fucked up by consumerism, because actually the big difference between people who are like massively into consumerism and hoarders is that hoarders want to sort of keep themselves, they don't want people seeing their stuff.
They're building a fortress.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there's a word for it. Like, hoarders have got this little room where they kind of sit in amid all their stuff, where they kind of do their bills. Yeah. It's called the cockpit. That's hoarding intervention experts call it the cockpit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can see that, like, it's like a cocoon. You're inside the womb of it.
Sure. But it's also like, to me, it's sort of a reaction to powerlessness. Mm-hmm. That, you invest all this meaning to random things that just keep stacking up, and when it comes right down to it, when it's sort of like something you haven't seen in years, you're like, oh no, I was gonna, like, it's an empire of emotional insulation.
Yeah. Oh, and like a lot of anxiety disorders, it's a disease of moral goodness. Same as OCD, right? Hoarders want to, they want to do it because, when you look at what it is that people hoard quite often, it's quite often things that make you a sort of good mainstream moral person. It's like Martha Stewart type stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Martha Stewart hoarding going on. So it's all about trying to, you're trying desperately to kind of be this functional person, the kind of, I remember meeting a hoarder who, it was all to do with dinner parties, but she had so much shit in her house that there's no room for a dinner party.
But she didn't see herself as a hoarder. Why?
No, she did, and she could see that it's like out of control. So you buy all this kind of crockery because you're going to do the best dinner party ever. You can never have a fucking dinner party,
right? Because
there's no space anymore.
It's a manifestation of some sort of psychological malignancy of unmet expectation.
Yeah,
it's like cancer. It starts with one thing, and then, like, the ideas get bigger. It's like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and this is going to be part of this, and I need to have this for when I want to do that. And then you're just, all of a sudden, it just becomes a complete, physical manifestation of a mental disease.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's a disease of moral goodness, and it's totally
Well, how is OCD a disease of moral goodness?
Oh, I think OCD is totally a disease of moral goodness.
Right, I guess maybe I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around the idea of moral goodness, that there's good intention behind it?
And it's all about being a good person. You don't. Okay, so a classic OCD thing.
I mean, organization.
No, like being a kind of moral person. Like if you live in the Bible Belt of America, quite often your OCD will manifest itself that you're convinced that Satan lives inside you. You're a bad person. It's like the opposite of a psychopath. It's like I could throw this baby out of the window. Now, a psychopath would think I could throw this baby out the window and like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Somebody with OCD could think I could throw this baby out the window. Fuck, that means I must be a terrible person. I've just had that thought. And that thought gets lodged in your brain. And you know, that's because everybody has these intrusive thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I could pick up this baby and throw it out the window. But with OCD, it's like the thought, you're such a good person.
How could I think that?
Yeah, how could I think that? And then fuck, and then you start all swooping around inside
damn
your
you,
head.
Satan.
Yeah, exactly. What's really interesting, I think, is that in like the Bible Belt of America, it's like, oh my God, I've just had this terrible thought. I must be satanic. I must have Satan living. In like liberal London, it's like, oh my God, I just had this terrible thought. I must be a racist.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, the battle with Satan, I think that when it comes down to, you know, all your investigations, is that, you know, how people make sense of the world and the existential struggle to exist within it and justify one's actions through rationalization or beliefs, is vast.
Mm. Yeah.
And that, you know, to really sort of assess it, like the fascination with conspiracy theories, you know, I've been that guy. That, you know, what it really is a revisionist organization of events, you know, put into a context either by you or somebody else that gives you some sense of control and some, you know, illusion of secret information, power.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's very, but usually if you do some rational research into most of it, either the conspiracy is plain to see and they're not hiding, or it's just bullshit. But it becomes a belief system, not unlike, organized religion. That I have found that, you know, people who believe in the Tower 7, in the 9/11 truth, that belief system has tenets and dogma and you know, moral principles, not unlike Christianity. That, you know, the belief that you have to suspend in order to absorb it and live it is religious.
Yeah. Except, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. Except they become very, especially with the 9/11 truthers, I think they become very kind of dehumanizing. For me, it stopped being funny with the 9/11 truthers because, you know, they just didn't give a fuck about the victims. You know, they would stalk the victims.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got this friend who was on, one of the trains on July 7th in London. You know, we had this test.
You wrote about that.
Yeah. And
did that make the final copy of the book? I think I read it.
Yeah, no, it did. It did.
Yeah.
And she, so she survived this terrorist attack in London, and then one day was looking herself up on Google, and all these people were discussing her, and they were discussing that she didn't exist because she'd become like a spokesperson for the
right. She was part of a conspiracy that the bombs weren't real and that they were done by the government, or the story was put forth by the government because of
a power surge.
Yeah, but why would the government go out of the way to hide that? Just the accidents happen all the time.
Yeah.
But they would create this convoluted, conspiracy to hide a power surge that caused an accident?
Yeah, an accidental power surge on the London Underground.
But then they had to accommodate the bus bombing.
That was all actors and
subterfuge.
Stuntmen. It was, stuntmen. I mean, it's insane.
It was subterfuge to make the other terrorist story more credible.
Right. Because of an accidental power
What the
surge.
fuck did you find? Where does that... Why do these people do this? To be a true psychopath, to have certain qualities of discipline, boundaries, even sort of relatively ambitious aggression that isn't harmful. That doesn't mean you're clinically a psychopath. But what about these? What did you find from talking to the story about the guy in the Psychopath Test who was one of these the M15 dude, the spy,
David Shayler.
That the arc of that guy's story.
That was amazing, right? Okay, so he was an MI5 spy, and then he became a whistleblower that I think the British were trying to kill Gaddafi. I think that was the thing. And then he was like he went on the run, and he ended up going to prison, and then he came out as a 9/11 truther, and then as a July 7th truther. So this is where he kind of intersects with my friend Rachel, who's like on the train, bomb goes off. 20 people are killed in her carriage. There's body parts everywhere. the survivors form a kind of group. You know, they just meet in pubs and start just chatting. And she becomes like a spokesperson for the survivors. And then David Shayler, who is now convinced that it was holograms that flew into the Twin Towers and the 7-7 train was just a, accidental power surge, becomes convinced that Rachel doesn't exist.
Right.
Because she's a team of MI5 agents.
Right.
Tasked to spread disinformation.
Yeah.
So Rachel did what I think you and I would do, which is like email them and say, actually, I do exist, and it's not nice to read this about yourself, especially when you've just been blown up on the tube, which they took as all the more evidence that she didn't exist.
Right.
And then finally she met them, and they ended up yelling at each other, and he accused her of being mentally ill. And
that's where everything fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he goes on to think he's a messiah and he's a cross-dresser and has clearly other problems.
Yeah, all of that happened afterwards.
But that was his next move. Is that like, I'm Jesus?
Yeah, I'm Jesus. And then he became a cross-dresser, called himself Dolores, I think.
And at that point, he's got no credibility. And you talked about that there was a breaking point.
Yeah, the right and the wrong sort of madness. When he believed that holograms flew into the Twin Towers, he was on TV like everywhere. But as soon as he started saying he was Jesus, it was like, yeah.
Not as interesting.
Too crazy.
But it also hackneyed.
Hackneyed, plus it doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
It's too... In fact, we feel bad talking about it because suddenly it's no longer smoke and mirrors exploitation, which is the kind of exploitation that makes us happy.
Yeah.
It's real exploitation.
Right, because he's got problems.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're Jesus, do a trick.
Yeah.
If you got no tricks, there's a very funny exchange between the woman who used to be his landlady and him, saying that, you've already blown it. Yeah, you're not doing the Messiah thing right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, if you're a real Messiah, people would gravitate towards you. You shouldn't be out here pitching yourself.
Right.
This is very funny.
Yeah.
But why do people like you and me, when I read when I see the 9/11 truth stuff, or even the hologram thing, even that, the reason that was compelling was because there is this sense that there are forces outside of us that are within human control, that we have no idea what the range of possibilities are within those. They're clandestine. And but what part of us, has that moment where you're like, well, I don't know. Maybe that's true. Why?
Maybe it's true that
they were holograms.
Okay, there's definitely a kind of Miss Marple thing going on, right? I mean, one of the most compelling conspiracy theories is things like chemtrails, which is really fucking easy. All you have to do is look up and you see it in the sky. So in the sky, there's evidence. On YouTube, of course, you don't have to do any legwork anymore to be like an investigator. You just have to go onto YouTube and watch Alex Jones videos. And then it's like, okay, I've got my information from this person. So it's a kind of lazy form of investigative journalism for a start. So you want to see some sort of physical evidence of the grand conspiracy, but you don't actually get on any planes and do any work.
Right.
I mean, when we were doing them and the series Secret Rulers of the World, we were on planes all the time, sneaking into the Bilderberg groups, sneaking into Bohemian Grove. We were kind of doing all of this stuff. But to be a conspiracy theorist these days, you don't actually have to do any of that stuff. You just
have to buy someone else's framing of the situation.
Yeah. And then what do we get out of it? I mean, what people say is, the world, people don't want to think, how uncontrollable the world is. We want to kind of give, patterns to an unpatternable world.
Right.
Sometimes I wonder...
You want something to blame or something to explain, something that seems like that is incomprehensible.
Because the truth
is not as interesting.
Or possibly more frightening, right?
Yeah,
that nobody controls anything and it's just chaos.
Things happen.
Yeah. But of course there are conspiracies. I mean, this is the counter side of it.
Well, that's the way that the ruling elites, which they exist, have always controlled things is through, relatively secret societies, but not that secret. How people are trained, at the upper levels of money and power. There are initiations. There is a way of life that is maintained. There is training. Ivy League schools were training camps for those people.
Yeah.
There is access that is only allowed to people of certain class and certain blood and certain family. I mean, it's not a mystery. It's not in hiding.
Yeah, and the Bilderberg group really does exist. I mean, when I was trying to get into the Bilderberg group, people actually thought it didn't exist because the only people who were speaking about it were, like, at the time, either far right or far left people. And it sounded so much like the Illuminati. People thought, this group doesn't even exist. The next thing I know, I'm being chased by the Secret Service men, like, through the streets of Portugal. So, and by the way, as soon as I started getting chased by the Bilderberg group, I completely went native straight away and became as paranoid as...
For how long?
Nothing happened. I mean, I wasn't killed, so I was probably for about a month.
But how is the Bilderberg group different than the G4 conference or different than the Bohemian Grove meetings? I mean, how is it, is it just a group of people at a certain class that are trying to have a discussion about, how things are going with running the world?
Yeah, I think it's got a slightly different agenda to...
What about the Trilateral Commission?
Yeah, I never tried to sneak into them, but I did get into Bohemian Grove and...
That's just a stupid party of rich people.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's where they go and they dress...
They're in an owl.
Right, they dress in drag and they put on shows and they do comedies and they eat dinner and they laugh at look at powerful people can have fun in the woods too.
Yeah,
right.
It was funny because I snuck into Bohemian Grove with Alex Jones, and because he was convinced that the owl was a symbol of Moloch, the devil god. So the fact that there was like owls everywhere was like evidence that this was like actual devil worship. The actual reason why there's owls everywhere, giant owl sculpture, is because it's in the middle of the redwoods and there's like owls. There's owls everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like an owl sanctuary. So it's really funny they're seeing Alex in there because Alex had to dress preppy to like sneak in.
Did you like hanging out with Alex?
No. He's kind of intense and it was a good night though.
Yeah.
Should I backtrack to kind of explain the situation of how we ended up getting there? So I'd heard about this place, Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard. You say
I don't know if everyone's heard about this. Is like this is sort of deep conspiracy stuff on some level. People who are interested in secret societies will have heard of it. At the time when I was more interested in it, I had heard of it. Yeah. But it's a secret meeting once a year in the woods of California of the ruling elites and their guests, and it's closed off.
And on the Saturday night, the room is always one. I mean, there's prostitution, there's all this kind of shit going on, but on the Saturday night, they all dress up in robes and they have a ritual that culminates in a human effigy being thrown into the fiery belly of a 50-foot stone owl. Mm-hmm. So I thought that can't be true.
Yeah.
So I decided to try and sneak in and find out if it was true. And I didn't want to go on my own. So I phoned up David Icke and I said, do you want to come into... He's like, that's where they transform themselves back into giant lizards. People vanish in those forests.
So that's where the lizard people meet.
Yeah, that's where the lizard people meet.
So he wasn't going to go.
No. So I phoned up Alex.
Because they were on to him.
Yeah.
Of course.
And people, people get sacrificed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I phoned up Alex Jones, who I'd met, actually. I went to the rebuilding of David Koresh's church at Waco, and Alex Jones had funded the rebuilding of David Koresh's church, and he seemed quite kind of fearless and gung-ho.
How's that church doing?
I think they're doing all right.
Yeah, and they are still the Branch Davidians?
Apparently, this was a while ago when I went there, but there weren't that many left, but those that were left, I think, sort of just moved back into the church. I remember a bumper sticker saying, "You burn it, we build it."
Yeah.
And Randy Weaver was there, who I got to know quite well.
From the shootout? Yeah, Ruby Ridge.
Yeah, in fact, I went with Randy Weaver and we met Alex Jones there. And
what do you think defines those people? What was your experience of them? What is their sense of, what does freedom look like for them in a real sense?
I remember Alex Jones calling a guy over and saying, "Show this English guy what freedom looks like." And the guy opened up his jacket and there was a gun in there. So that's what freedom looks like. A big gun.
and what do you make of that? What do you make?
I fucking nuts. I mean, I'm an Englishman. I mean, I have no conception of why the Americans want to have guns. It just seems like kind of crazy. I don't understand why you want to have guns, and I don't understand why you don't have free healthcare.
Yeah.
It's like those are the things that fuck everything up. So it's just a mystery to me.
But those people that have guns are against free healthcare.
Yes.
On principle, because they think that, we should have the choice to die without treatment.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's nuts. So I went into Beam and Grove with Alex Jones. I phoned him up and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. And he goes, I'll come in. I'm going to come in and I'm going to sneak a camera in and I'm going to get a camera right in their faces and I'm going to confront these devil worshippers going about their wickedness. So I said, I think stealth would be a better approach.
Yeah.
I said, okay, stealth. Yeah. So we went in there. So we dressed preppy.
Yeah.
This is my favourite part of the night.
How'd you get in, though? How'd you have tickets?
Well, this is going back like 15 years. So we met a guy in the town who'd himself infiltrated the Grove. And he said, you just dress preppy, just walk up the drive. Because Alex had this plan that he'd sail along the river and then get out and then climb up the mountain and then go down the other side and get in that way. And then this lawyer in the town who'd snuck into the Grove a few times said, no, if you're going that way, you're going to get yourself killed. And Alex got
because of the terrain, not because...
Yeah, because of the terrain. So Alex wrote down on his notepad, going in that way, -killed. He said, all you need to do is go to Eddie Bauer, go and get yourself some preppy clothes.
And you just walked in.
Yeah. So but Alex was practicing, in the run up to the infiltration.
Yeah.
I was just walking up and down this hotel corridor, practicing being preppy, in case he was confronted. And Alex's version of being preppy, he went into this. We used to have this show called Mr. Ben in England, this TV kids show, where Mr. Ben would walk into the dressing room at the costume store, like a businessman, and would come out looking like, I don't know, a cowboy or an Indian or something. And Alex went into Eddie Bauer looking like a kind of far right wing nut Texan redneck, and came out looking like, Jay Gatsby, with the tennis racket. In fact, took everything but the tennis racket. So then he was walking up and down the corridor, practicing being preppy, but having these sort of slightly effeminate conversations about microprocessors. It was walking, and I said, have you got anything to say? If you get caught, have you got, if they confront you, have you got something to say? And he said, yeah, I've worked out what I'm going to say. I said, what are you going to say? He said, I'm going to say, don't come any closer. I said, that's not preppy, Alex. That's a threat. He said, yeah.
But don't you think that he's, I have a hard time knowing whether or not he believes his bullshit or not.
Yeah. So we went into the Grove and witnessed the owl ritual, which was just as you described it earlier, just kind of stupid, grown-up, skull and bones, frat boy bollocks. I mean, weird that, George Bush would want to spend his summer holiday doing that, but not evidence of actual, satanic activity. But Alex came out of it convinced, made a video that this could have been actual child sacrifice that we witnessed, and so totally spun it out of control. And I said to him, Alex, I think this is kind of irresponsible of you to do this. You saw what I saw, that this was kind of stupid and intense and weird, but it wasn't satanic. And he said to me, you know what my people want to hear, basically.
I got a show to do.
Yeah, I got a show to do. So I think obviously Alex believes this stuff a bit, but he is a showman.
Yeah.
So why do they do it? I mean, sometimes I think there's this kind of weird pattern thing going on in their brain that they just they feel this kind of real need to form patterns for everything to make sense.
Right.
And then their political stuff comes into it, which means everything has to make sense in this kind of evil globalist way. I had a sort of epiphany coming out of Bohemian Grove, actually, which was that Alex took it really seriously.
Yeah.
And all the men of wealth and power, all these kind of Mr. Burns and the Simpsons, were taking it really seriously as well in their own way. It wasn't like fun and games to them. It's like it seemed to be some sort of thing to make them feel like an elite.
It's a tradition. It's a ritual of tradition. It's like hazing or anything else. It's secret handshake shit.
Yeah, and I thought the only sane person in the entire redwood forest, seeing that this was just stupid, was me. I was like the only person who thought this is fucking nuts.
But it's just a reaffirmation of the brotherhood of power, right?
Which is the same as Skull and Bones. It's weird that they need that. They need that thing. They need those rituals to actually make them feel like they are special enough to carve up the world.
Right.
I tried to sneak into the Skull and Bones. Actually, before I ended up doing the Men Stay at Goats, we were like desperately flailing around looking for stories to do, and one of them was trying to get into Skull and Bones Club to try and...
At Yale?
Yeah. But then I realised I was like a grown man trying to...
Yeah, they're good.
Like kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that their sort of like approach at this point is sort of passive, and that, you know, like if Geronimo's skull is there, it's like, oh, you want to see something weird, right?
Yeah,
it's his real skull.
I tried to prove that as well.
Yeah,
that it was Bush's grandfather had grave robbed Geronimo's grave.
Yeah,
this is good. This is like kind of, you know, like on iTunes when it's like, you know, like the third, like the, what do they call it when it's like the. You know, if you like these songs by The Fall, listen to these like ones that no one's ever heard of. It's like, you know, in Geronimo's skull, said, I'm impressed that you really do know your conspiracy shit. I thought I was like the only person who knew that the theory that Bush's grandfather had stolen.
Yeah,
Geronimo's
you know, I've been down that rabbit hole. Everybody's looking for meaning,
right?
But what compels you? I mean, where'd you grow up?
Cardiff.
And that's in Wales?
Yes, the capital of Wales.
And how did you grow up? What is your...
It was just a sort of, you know, regular kind of suburban... it's funny, you know, the other day I was at a spa and the therapist... I said to the therapist, I can't remember anything about my childhood. Because it's like, when you describe that, I've got this kind of vague impression of what my... I said, I can't remember anything about my childhood. It's all gone. And she said to me, well, you know, most people who don't remember anything about their childhood, it means that they were sexually abused by their parents. And I said, I'd remember that. but I don't remember that much. I remember I was like, I grew up in this kind of, you know, suburban house in Cardiff, and I went to the local high school, Cardiff High School, and had a kind of rough time of it.
Why?
I was like, you know, I was an awkward, quiet fat kid. I was fat, and I'd just stand there in silence, basically for like the first 16 or 17 years of my life.
The fat thing is a bit harsh.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and you were made fun of.
Yeah, actually, I was thrown in a lake once
for being fat.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they threw me in a lake. I did, and then years later, I woke up, like about 5 years ago, I realised I was still angry about it. And so I found one of them on the internet and emailed to tell him that I'm now a best-selling author. And he...
Did he say, are you still fat?
No, he emailed me back and said that the reason why they threw me in the lake was because I was a pain in the ass, and the tenor of my email leads him to suspect that I haven't changed.
Oh, you blew it.
I fucked it up.
You walked right into it.
Yeah, it turns out I was thinking, well, I must be doing better than you. And I looked him up, and it turns out it's because I'm fucking plain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I should have
no closure there.
No,
you're gonna have to process that anger on your own.
Yeah.
And what did your dad do?
He was a wholesaler. Like he owned a warehouse.
Yeah?
Yeah, importing and exporting things like cutlery.
And you grew up Jewish?
Grew up Jewish.
Your mom's Jewish from Liverpool?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm constantly fascinated by the reality of British Jews. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm ridiculous.
Cardiff had we had kind of a big Jewish community in Cardiff. Yeah, pretty big.
I don't know what, people get mad at me for like, enough with the Jew shit, but it's like, it's fascinating
Well,
to me.
it's fascinating to me.
It is?
Yeah.
Do you hold on to it?
No, fuck. No, the last time I went to synagogue was the day of my bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Never went back.
Really?
Yeah, because it's fucking nuts. The whole thing's nuts. It's like, people hit themselves, and the men and women have to sit separately.
You grew up Orthodox?
Yeah.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, I said I grew up Orthodox. It was an Orthodox synagogue that I went to, but there was nothing particular. We had a car crash when I was 10, and my dad made us go to synagogue. It's like if we've not been punished once with a fucking car crash, I now have to go to synagogue every week because we didn't die.
Because you didn't die.
Yeah.
And he thought it's time to get straight with God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I was punished twice. First we have the fucking car crash, and I have to go to synagogue every week. So that happened for a while.
But in the books you sort of write about this sort of anxiety thing. Do you find that the reason, what was the moment where you decided, like, I'm gonna be a journalist? What was the intent?
I think
were you trying to feel better?
Yeah, I think I sometimes wonder whether, I mean, if it is connected to me having a bad childhood, whether it's to go and meet frightening people and then sort of demonize them in my mind, to try and understand. I do think, I do think actually that having a kind of shit childhood is exactly the kind of thing a journalist should have, because we should be mistrustful. We should feel like outsiders, mistrustful of power. Mm-hmm. And what better way to feel that than to be kind of shoved to the edge of the playground at school? Yeah. So I do think it was a good thing. I think being bullied is what a journalist should have had happen to them as a child. Because
you don't do, you're not politically motivated.
No, it's people. I'm interested in why we behave the way that we do. Yeah. I mean, that's like all my stories. Why do we behave in the kind of absurd, ridiculous ways that we do as human beings? I mean, quite often it is to do with power, because it's why do we fuck up other people so much? Which is why I'm interested in public shaming, actually, because when we all get together to shame someone, like Justine Sacco on the plane the other week, that story.
Which one?
She was this woman. She was about to get on a plane. I'm going to South Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Oh no, I won't, because I'm white. And then she obviously chuckled to herself, turned off the phone, and got on the plane. And by the time she'd landed, it was like fucking. Did you miss all of this?
Yeah. Is she a public personality?
No, she's a PR woman. Huh. And destroyed. And part of the reason why she was destroyed was because there was a kind of real glee at we're destroying her, and she doesn't even fucking know it because she's on a plane.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Yeah.
How quickly it can happen.
Yeah, by the time she got off the plane, she was just destroyed. So, I think my book about public shaming is also about power, because it's about the intense power that we all have when we get together to destroy someone.
But it also took, the potential of it happening so quickly and so virally and on such a massive scale is probably less than a decade old, really.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
What are you finding when you talk to people who have been public shamed?
There's kind of, that it's like the worst pain in the world. One of them said it was worse than being very badly beaten up by his father. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So...
What's their recourse?
For many of them, there's no recourse, right?
Yeah.
You're you're fucked forever.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the people who get trapped in that moment, I presume Michael Richards, so I haven't met. Have you met Michael Richards?
No.
Okay.
Are you going to talk to him?
He wouldn't talk to me.
No?
No, it's just, I think it's too haunting for him. And it was years ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
Actually, it wasn't that long ago.
Well, I mean, comics that I've talked to have sort of framed it as a failed attempt at something.
Yeah, yeah. Do you worry about it? Do you sort of think, have I just... do you worry that you're going to, tweet the wrong thing and then your life will be over? Do these thoughts cross your mind?
Not so much that one. I mean, I kind of compulsively tweet stuff, and I think about it. I'm not one to make racial jokes or or be I've been insensitive, and I've sort of answered to it. But usually they're oversights and perhaps things that I haven't thought through. Yeah. But I think that how do you my fear is character assassination. Because that, like you're saying, is that if somebody puts something out in the world and people choose to believe that, no matter how untrue it is, if they choose to believe it, then that's what it is. And you're fighting against something that just became, defining you. And it's that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
It's just a malignant attack.
It's a little, yeah. Or if there's truth to it, it's a slither of who you are as a human being. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what frightens me about the way things are going with the internet, is that, this tiny slither of somebody's life can like a cancer.
Define them.
Can define them.
People who want it. They're I guess what's more interesting in terms of what you're talking about and the group mentality or mob mentality of it is that pile-on thing. Yeah. Is that, that people that may or may not have anything going on in their life, find meaning and satisfaction in the piling on. Yeah. I imagine it's not that different than a lynch mob mentality. Yeah. And I'm sure that has been explored. by psychologists? I don't know if you've done any.
Oh, sure. I've been looking into all of this stuff a lot. I think that because you know what it is, what we're saying, and we don't want to think this because we like to see ourselves as kind of nonconformists. But when we're piling onto somebody, what we're actually saying is, look at us, we're normal, this is the average. So what we're doing is we're defining normality by becoming furious with people outside of normality. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think this is, making us a much more.
But that's the case with madness. But if it's something else, if it's justice driven, that's different, right?
Well, everyone who's been publicly shamed has done something wrong. But in a way, I mean, I can underwrite this book if I sort of don't make that the focus of it, because of course they've all done something wrong, or they wouldn't have been publicly shamed. So really, it's like the power. I mean, public shame.
But sometimes doing something wrong is being misunderstood.
Yeah, or
contextualized for as a means to an end.
Yeah, but public shaming was banned as a punishment in the 19th century because it was too inhumane. I mean, we're routinely doing something that was banned for being too inhumane in the 19th century.
The victim of that, has no defense.
There's no possibility of re-entry. At least built into the prison system is they've done their time, now they can be allowed to re-enter society. With public shaming, that possibility of re-entry is narrowed to practically nothing.
You really have to decide if you have the power to sort of, publicly shame somebody, like on Twitter or whoever you are, or you're somebody of prominence, that, your moral compass better be very fucking solid, number one. And also, what are you really getting out of it? I mean, why are you the judge and executioner?
I think we quite often shame people for the thing that we're most worried that we do ourselves. Mm-hmm. I think we feel this kind of dopamine rush when we realise that we're part of a big group of people who all feel the same way.
But it comes from shame. That's an interesting thing to me. And that shame can be vague. But if you're a shaming person, you're overcompensating because, you feel that way about yourself.
Yeah.
Shame's tricky business.
Yeah, I know. You've got, I saw you tweet a copy of the book Letting Go of Shame.
Yeah. So
you feel this way? Do you feel like you've got too much shame?
Well, I feel that, my shame is specific, and it's body image related, most of it.
Right. Because you had this, did you have a sort of fat?
I had a very judgmental mother, and whose love was very conditional to, whether or not I looked how she wanted me to look.
Yeah. I mean, how often would she, was this like a kind of weekly thing? Would she make a kind of comment?
It was just it was an ideology that, she was ideologically anorexic because of her own shame of being a fat child.
Right.
So I was brought up, without much nurturing and with a constant sort of judgment of whether or not my weight was proper.
So would you be putting something in your mouth and then your mother would say something?
Yeah.
She'd make a little comment.
Yeah. Do you need that? And that, that goes way back. So like that, and this is just coming up for me now. And, how do you deal with that? That, you literally, that the person that was supposed to at least pretend to unconditionally love you was judging you from day one.
Yeah.
So you don't have any context I don't have any context of being nurtured or being anything, but, God, I hope she, likes me because, now I'm, chubby.
But it doesn't help you to think, well, she did that because she was fucked up, so it's not personal.
I guess, but how do you, intellectualizing any of this stuff is all well and good, but, how do you effectively, experience the grief of that being taken away from you is the really tricky thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can understand a lot of shit. But does that change my behavior? Does that, does the awareness of it in and of itself facilitate change? No, because, you have to get in there and tap the emotional processing of it in order to sort of like move through, or you're never going to get back what wasn't given you.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think it's kind of weird? Because I've basically had a great life from like the age of 18. I'm 46 now. I've had it's been great. But for some reason, I so often go back to like age 16 to 18. 2 years out of those,
Hell?
Yeah, 2 years of hell. why do we keep going back to that? You know, why not just be happy with the fact that everything's been great for the last 30 years?
I have that, but I have it with, because what I found for me is that whatever was the emotional resonance of that some part of you must have thought you deserved it.
Yeah.
And somehow you got wired to think that, you know, whatever that was really the truth. But why do you think you go back to that period between 16 and 18?
I mean, in some ways, I think, I never really think about this. It's sort of interesting, I think, to think about it, like, why? In some ways, I think it's good, because I think, like, every situation I go into now, like, as a writer, as a journalist or whatever, I've got this sort of slightly, you know, neurotic, awkward, sort of fucked up, you know, I'm never going to be a completely mainstream part of society, because for those 2 years at, you know, Cardiff High School, I was like being told over and over again that I'm not part of this. I'm some guy on the edge of it.
But that was the only time that happened?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it was maybe 3 or 4 years. But
isn't there some party, because I'm the kind of guy that I never felt like I fit in. That, you know,
yeah, but that's what I mean, exactly. So that stayed with me forever. So every time I go into a situation now, and like, I'm always a little bit mistrustful of somebody. I'm always wondering. There's a British journalist called Jeremy Paxman who says that every time he interviews a politician, the thought that goes through his head is, why is this bastard lying to me? And I think those kind of years of like having such a rough time at Cardiff High have stayed with me in that way. It's like every time I go into a situation, it's like if you're like fine, if you walk into a room and you're fucking fine and everybody loves you and it's all fine, you're not going to see the world as clearly as you'll see it if you have a fucked up teenage years, right?
Yeah, or fucked up all of it.
Yeah, it stays with you. So maybe it's good, you know.
It's like it defines your point of view. But still, like, the truth of the matter is that, you know, in the Psychopath book, I mean, you want to be liked, and you're susceptible to charm. So so you're vulnerable, like that, and you know, when you're like that as a teenager, you know, it's almost impossible not to get hurt. But you seem to be more calculating in that, you know. That, you know, what you find is that you get a sort of like, aha.
I knew these fuckers were trying to fuck me.
Right.
Like no, I wouldn't say calculate, because I do like people, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'd be a terrible writer if all I did was think, why are these bastards lying to me?
Right.
Because I do really like people.
Right.
And in fact, the way it's morphed itself over the years, particularly as I've got older, is not like these people are monsters and they're out to fuck me, but we're all fucked, we're all damaged, you know, we're all vulnerable.
Right.
And let's enter into the situation thinking that, which is why I'm so against, you know, public shaming, and it's why I'm so against that sort of journalism of humiliation and abuse, because implied in all of that is I'm great and you're an idiot, whereas everything I do is based on we're all fucked, and instead of like trying to have a sort of power game about it, let's just accept it and in fact think it's kind of, you know, like enjoy it and laugh about it and sort of revel in life's absurdities and kind of de-demonize it that way, you know.
I'm the same way. I feel that that's what I'm looking for, and it is connection. And you know, sometimes when you find, you know, to find connection, it's really around those emotional wounds.
So if you find yourself like with somebody who's like fine and not at all damaged and everything about them's like fine, do you kind of think I've got nothing?
No, it's like good for you. You know, there's a because I believe that there are some people that were either you know had some stability growing up, even if they were bad kids or whatever. That the one thing that I've talked about this before on the show is that, you know, I didn't have parents that had the fortitude to discipline or really guide me, you know, with certain values, other than their own panic. So, you know, I think that people that, you know, if they were up against parents that were somewhat strict or made them do things for their own good, though they didn't realize it, that sometimes those people are a little more stable in a lot of the things that I'm not particularly stable in.
Yeah.
Because I have no confidence around any of that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to be a good loser.
I tell you another good thing that's come from all of this, of like, you know, having a kind of rough teenage years, is it took me quite a few years to realise this, but like, it's okay to be it's all right to be an outsider. It's okay to sort of aim low.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get that.
Yeah.
You think it's aiming low, or do you think it's like realizing that there is no normal, that the mainstream, or what you're talking about in terms of public shaming, you know, is something that it's not a good part of humanity.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's dismissive. It's cruel. It lacks, you know, a concern, and it feeds something that's very unattractive.
Yeah. And it's okay to just opt out of it. I remember there's this radio award in Britain called the Sony Award, and every year I get nominated and don't win. And I started to think it was like a kind of conspiracy to get me into a fucking tuxedo and send me to central London, only to tell me to fuck off back home again. And then one year, about 2 years ago, like I didn't win, and so I went outside and I saw a friend of mine who'd also just not won, a guy called Adam Buxton, and we kind of stood outside, you know, the Grosvenor Park Hotel, whatever it's called, Grosvenor House Hotel, and Adam said, "Do you know why we never win?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because we're marginal." He said, "The people that we like are marginal, and it's fine." And in fact, I've written a film, or co-written a film called Frank, which is about to get it.
This is the new one.
Yeah, and it's kind of all really based on that you know, we're marginal and it's fine.
What is it about?
It's about when I left Cardiff for a couple of years. I joined a band called the Frank Sidebottom Oh Blimey Big Band, and the singer wore a big fake head that he never took off, with a sort of cartoon face painted on it. And in his kind of glory years, there was much speculation as to who he was underneath the head.
But you knew.
I knew. But the first time I met him, it was at the sound check. What happened was I was in an office and the phone rang, and it was this guy, and he's like in a frantic voice saying, we're supposed to be playing tonight. It's in this entertainment's office in London. We're supposed to be playing tonight, but our keyboard player's like, yeah, fucked up, we can't make it, so we're going to have to cancel unless you know any keyboard players. So I said, I play keyboards. And he said, "Well, you're in." And I said, "But I don't know any of your songs." And he said, "Wait a minute." And he goes, Then he came back and he said, "Can you play C, F and G?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you're in. Sound check, 5 o'clock. So I kind of got to the sound check, and I was sort of looking, these men were there like fiddling with stuff, and I said, "I wonder which one's Frank," because I knew that he wore a big fake head.
Yeah.
Didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
And then out of the shadows, this face turns towards me, and it's Frank at the sound check. Nobody there, just the band. And he's wearing his big fake head, just staring at me with it's a mobile face.
Yeah.
And I knew that his real name was Chris.
Yeah.
So I said, "Hello, Chris, I'm John." It's like silence. And I said, "Hello, Frank?" And he went, "Hello!"
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I joined this band.
Now, how come I don't know what this band is? Were they popular?
No, I mean, you know, no. We would never. I mean, you know, in our kind of glory years, we could play to maybe 1,000 people a night, maybe 750.
And this was his gimmick.
Yeah, but it was more than a gimmick. I mean, it was like it consumed him. I mean, he
Was it a conceptual, conscious piece of art that he was involved in, or was he justifying something else?
No, I think there was some. I think it was a kind of conceptual piece of art about kind of innocence, and he was a kind of innocent figure, Frank. And anyway, so I was in this band for like 3 years, and then he fired us all for tax reasons. He owed £30,000 back tax, and so we had to fire us all.
Yeah.
And then I didn't hear anything from him for like 20 years. And then the phone rang, and his voice went, "Hello!" And I went, "Frank."
Yeah.
And he was staging a comeback, and he said, "Did I want to write something about my time in the band, you know, to kind of help him with his comeback?" So I wrote this little thing in The Guardian, and we wrote a film based on this, about a fictional character who wears a big fake head. And it's all finished now. We've got Michael Fassbender playing the man who wears the big fake head.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
What was compelling to you about the character of that?
I think it was like that night when I kind of turned up at the sound check. I felt it was like Alice, being plucked from the suburbs to join this band. It was like Alice through the looking glass, stepping up on stage and being part of this band. And I think there was that. And also I think it was like a tribute to marginal people. However much he might have wanted to make it in the mainstream, and I don't actually know whether he ever really did want to make it, but people like that. There's certain people out there, however much they want to make it in the mainstream, they never will. And when they come to that realisation that it's okay. So it's like a tribute to people like him, and to Daniel Johnson, and to, the Shags, and to, that kind of crowd of people.
But it's interesting that moment, like some people don't, that was never necessarily their aspiration. They just couldn't help themselves but to do it the way they do it.
Yeah.
And, at some point you have that moment where you're like, why don't more people like me? And then you have to, what I did was realize, well, I'm not really for everybody. And if I, if I can, find the people that resonate with me, then that'd be nice, and this facilitated that. Yeah. But in the still that you sent me, and in reading your work, like all I had to go on was this picture from this movie and the slight write-up about Fassbender, a attractive man playing this man who was wearing a mask. But I didn't have any idea of the story, but having, read your stuff, was there any fascination with, what people put upon that you have this prosthetic that assumes a consistency of appearance and expression and sort of something funny, but people project onto that.
Yeah.
There's a mystery to it, but there's also something interesting about an unchanging head.
Yeah. And in the film, for a little while, because he doesn't want to intimidate people.
Yeah.
So for a little while he says his facial expressions out loud.
Yeah.
So like welcoming smile.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's sweet. I wonder whether, certainly in the film and in real life.
Who directed it?
Lenny Abrahamson. He's an Irish director who made Garage and Adam and Paul and What Richard Did. And I co-wrote it with Peter Strawn, who wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And he also wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats, which I wrote the book, and he wrote the screenplay. There's no question. My happiest memories of being in Frank's band in real life was when he would decide for whatever reason to just carry on being Frank. So it'd be like 2 a.m. and we'd be driving up the M6, back towards Manchester, and I'd be sitting there in a van next to a man wearing a big fake head. And nothing makes a young man feel more alive and on an adventure than that. Yeah.
Did you get to know him beneath the head?
A bit, yeah. He was always quite secretive about his family when I was in the band. One time he decided to become more professional sounding. He went through that thing that we were just talking about where he thought, I need to become more popular. I can't just go through life with only 750 people in any one town liking me. So he decided to become more professional sounding.
But not take off the head.
Not take off the head, but get in a saxophone player and a proper guitarist. And I got a call from the manager saying, Frank wants to rehearse. And my heart sank, because there was never any need for us to rehearse because we were terrible. Yeah. And I thought we were jumping the shark. And I turned up at his house. There was a sax player and this kind of bass player with sort of funky.
But so, to tie it all in is that, to me, and, and I think that, as I got older, hopefully you become this, but it seems like some people who are or creative or have a certain charisma, that people like you and I seem to be attracted to, seem to have made this decision earlier on, either consciously or not. Usually if it's done consciously for a reason to exploit it, it doesn't hold. But some people are painfully themselves and can't help it. And if they're public personalities, there's something very attractive about that. Like I know people in my life, certain performers who, fare either horribly or okay, but rarely transcend that level of marginality. are really the most, honest people because they can't help themselves.
Yeah. And in fact, when you try and be more mainstream and be more professional, you just come over it, it's kind of nuts and nobody likes it at all.
Yeah.
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 It's good, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of mature to come to that realization, if you are one of those people, that, fuck it, it's enough. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So are we enough?
Yeah, this is fine.
All right. Thanks for talking to me.
Thanks, Marc.
That's it. That's Jon Ronson. I was happy to talk to him. It is a great book if you're interested in that, the Psychopath Test. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book. What else? Oh, I know what. I want to tell you that on Thursday, March 6th, USA Network presents a new original comedy, Sirens, created by Dennis Leary of Rescue Me. I got to get him on this show. And Bob Fisher, co-writer of Wedding Crashers. The show Sirens is about 3 EMTs who are great at their jobs, but not so great at everything else. The thing is, funny things can happen when you save lives for a living. Sirens, a new USA original series, premieres Thursday, March 6th at 10, 9 Central, only on USA Network. Dennis Leary is one of the producers of my show as well, Maron on IFC, which you can watch on Netflix. And now on the movie channel in Canada, parts of Canada. Look, just go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF pod needs. Maybe leave a comment. Pick up the app. For you newbies, the app. Get the free app. Upgrade to premium. You can stream all 400 and God knows how many WTFs right into your head. Just like that. All right, you guys. Things are okay. All right? Things are okay. Right? Boomer lives!